Yeah, hi, this is Nick Struan again here, just following up on the program. Yesterday or I talked about doing a bit of a teaching session on the benefits of knowing what you want and how to go about getting it. Does that mean that everybody needs to be doing something and going after something they want? No, not at all. If you are happy doing whatever you're doing, then you have probably riches beyond your belief, so to speak, right? Because at the end of the day, if you ask 100 people, why are you doing what you're doing, most of the people have probably forgotten why they actually do it, apart from the obvious, which is make money, you know. But why why are you making money? And for what reason? That may sound very dumb, and yeah, I apologize for that. But let's just take a brief look at why we are doing what we're doing, right? I remember one of my mentors, Dan Lok. He told the story about an Indian chief, and the government was deciding to do something for the tribe. So they thought, well, we'll start at the top. So they went up to the Indian chief and they said, like, we really want to help, you and your tribe to have a better life in this world, right? And he said, oh, that sounds great, So we're going to teach you and take you to school and do give you an opportunity to learn. And he says, the Indian chief says, well, why do I want to do that? He says, well, when you go and learn something, you can get a good job, and you can earn money, and you can really enjoy yourself. And he says, well, why do I want to do that? Well, when you got a good job and you earn good money, you can have a good family, you can have a better life, and own your own home, and you can have some children, and that. And to cut a long story short, the Indian chief says, well, why do I want to do that? Well, then you can spend your time doing whatever you want to do, and you can enjoy yourself and have a good life. And the Indian chief again says, well, I'm already doing that, so what's the point? So if you look at that and you think, yeah, well, what is the point? What are we doing? Also, many people, they get themselves into a situation where they're doing a lot of stuff, and they're busy every day, and they never see anybody, never go anywhere, and never have time for anything. Just come home at night and just fall over, have some dinner, say good night to the kids and go to sleep. And that's their sort of life, almost 7 days a week, and they're on the trail, they're on the hunt, right? And even though they may have a lot of money and get a lot of interest from what they're doing, they're sacrificing other areas. I know I did that many times, and it cost me dearly, because I was so focused on making money that the relationship side of things was not perhaps what it should be, and I obviously suffered from that in some respects there. So there's always a price to be paid, and for whatever we want, no matter which way we look at it, and that price has to be paid. So to be sort of an all-round, good person, I suppose, you need to look at several areas of your life and make sure that everything is in harmony with each other, right? So that's something that's really important, I think. And another thing that is strange to think, and I have heard from many people, is that once you do become wealthy and have a lot of money, right, you should think, well, I want financial freedom. That's what I want. I want to be able to just relax and do nothing, right? That's what I want to do, just walk on the beach and do nothing, right? Now, I remember a story I read many years ago about a banker. He was a director of his bank, and he retired. As soon as he retired, he started getting sick, and and he went to the doctor, and they did a prognosis on him, and they found for him to have cancer, right? Incurable cancer, and they said he probably had less than 6 months to live. So he was obviously shocked and overwhelmed by that, and he said to himself, well, what will I do? Will I run around here and suffer all the indignities of having people feeling sorry for me or whatever? And he said, hell no, I love mountain climbing, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get myself, ready and able to go and do some mountain climbing. I'll go up into the mountains, and when my time is up, I'll fall off the mountain, and that'll be it, right? So anyway, so he did that. He went and bought all the equipment and everything, spent a lot of money on doing that and getting himself set up, and off he went, right? And he then obviously started mountain climbing almost every day. That was his passion. He loved doing it, and he thought, again, that was the best way for him to do stuff, and end his days that way. Now, after several months, the 6 months went past very quickly, and then suddenly it was 8 months and 12 months and whatever, and he thought, well, I'm feeling great, I'm feeling so much better than I did before. So he returned to the city, and he thought, well, I better have a checkup, and he went to the doctors, and they could find absolutely nothing wrong with him, right? He was totally cured from any cancer whatsoever. His body was, in top fit condition. Obviously, climbing mountains every day is going to do something for you. The mountain air and all the good food and stuff there. So he was declared absolutely superb condition for his age, right? And he ended up living for many, many years after that. So, but the point here is that you can see that happening, right? What was the difference? Well, he was doing something that he really loved to do. And he was so much enjoying it and so much into it that, in the whole setup of his day-to-day living, he was improving everything, Did he make a lot of money from that? No, not really. He probably ended up spending some. But was his lifestyle good? Yes. Was he bored? Not really. No, he was doing what he loved. So this thing of retiring and doing nothing is a myth. It doesn't really exist, right? Because you really, if you really retire to do nothing, how many of us have had a period in our life where we perhaps could or wouldn't do anything for a month or so, right? And it's this business of being home every day and just doing nothing was great for a week or two, but after a month it was boring, right? And that is the thing, that when you have enough wealth to be able to do what you want to do, you really don't just want to hang around. So, well, how does that work out? Well, does that mean that our vision is all blurred and incorrect? Well, in some ways it certainly is, So where does that land us? Well, most people, even the richest men in the world, or richest people I should say, because there's just as many rich women now as there's men. So, they don't retire. They don't just sort of say, now I've done this for a long time and I got enough money to do that, so I'll just sit home, do nothing. No, they retire to do what they really love to do. And therein is the secret to a long living life, a long lasting life, right? So, but do we have to wait till we make $1 million before we can do that? No, maybe not. It all depends on what you really love to do. So my advice is at this point in time, we have made a list of all the things that we love to have in our lives, right? But, if you won the lottery tomorrow and you won $100 million, right? You wouldn't sort of just go out the day after and change your whole world, because you probably don't know what your whole world would like to be like. So that's the reason why we make this list, to actually get a feel for what is it that we would like to do if and when we can afford to do that, right? Now, the next thing, there's a difference between rich and poor folks, is that we tend to do that. We tend to say, well, I can't afford to, right? And that's poverty thinking and poverty speech, if you like, right? Because the rich people never talk about, what they can afford to. They say, how can I afford to? And that's a huge difference if we look at that, right? So if you really want to have a lifestyle that is, one way or the other, then first of all, of course, we must decide what that lifestyle is. Because you may find that, having a great lifestyle is just living in the jungle somewhere in a hut, most like typical for the one I'm in here. I'm actually sort of in somewhat of a rural area in Cambodia, and these are all huts around here that you could actually live very well in, and for the rest of my time anyway. There's everything here. There's fruit and vegetables, bananas and whatever, and all the comfort of home, and I'm sure many of you are dreaming of living such a lifestyle, right? So could I live here all the time doing nothing else than that? No, probably not. I could, because variety is the spice of life, isn't it? But if you have a choice to do what you want to do, then you can do that. Does that mean you'll travel all the time? No, it doesn't mean you will travel all the time. It means that you will travel when you feel like it, right? And you wouldn't think too much about that. You would just say, I want to go and see Mexico. I saw a movie last week about Mexico, and that looks interesting. How about we just jump on a plane and go to Mexico and check it out? Your little kids are learning in school about the pyramids, and they come home, Dad, what are the pyramids? And you say, how about we just nip off for a fortnight and have a look at the pyramids, right? Then you can go back and tell all the other guys about it, right? So this sort of thing, having choices is what it means to have, disposable income. But you can still have a life compared to some people around the world. You are a millionaire, right? We all are. When we go to India or the Philippines or even here in Cambodia, a labor gets paid less than $80 a month. $80 US, right? And I mean, that's you'll have to do a little bit of shifting around in your finances for you to be able to live on $80 a month, right? Yeah. So if you're living on, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000 a month now, then I would classify you as being a bit wealthy, right? Wouldn't you? Yeah. So, you don't need to have the big money to feel wealthy. And in relation to other countries, well, we do have a lot, and we are really wealthy. So if we start from that point that we are wealthy, we have great health, we have great opportunity for the health systems and pensions and all kinds of things, right? So let's start from there and saying, hey, look, we are really okay, but I would like to do this, right? And this is your big thing. What would you really like to do, right? If you hate your job and you're going there every day, well, start looking at what you really would like to do. Okay? All right. Next step is that most of us has misunderstood the whole concept of making money as to go and get. Like we first earn money doing whatever, right? And, if we make good deals and we cheat other people and we make a bit of extra money, yeah, right, we are a real good businessman. But I mean, real good businessman in the true sense is the total opposite of that, right? Because in today's market, it is about giving, not taking, right? And I think if you look into the history of things, that most of the rich people that became rich also affected the masses of the people in a great way, right? So let's just stick with that, because that's a whole story in itself there, that you must learn to give before you can have, right? I mentioned that in the previous video. So let's look at, first of all, we got our list, we know what we want to be doing, right? And then we know that we don't want to just be sitting down. We actually want to be active. So, and we are in a favorite position that we can actually do something, right? So let's start looking at what it is that you would like to do if you were wealthy, right? You know, let's start with the end in mind and say, well, you know, I want to do, you know, whatever I'm good at or whatever, right? In my case, I love teaching. For some reason, I have always loved teaching since I was 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. It became natural to me to teach, and I enjoyed it, and I felt really good. Now, in early days, I was teaching martial arts, and I had my first school back when I was only about 16 years old. So since then, I've taught many thousands of students, and many good people have come out from benefiting from some of the tuition that I have given them over the years, right? And you know, so what is a good teacher really when you think of it, right? A good teacher, is that someone who just tells you this is how you do it, right? Go and do it and my way, right? No, it's not. It's the one who brings out in you the motivation and the ability to start thinking for yourself, right? Because other than that, you know, you would just be a clone, and that's not the ideal outcome. You want to produce students who are able to think for themselves and who is able to surpass you, right? And I think that's the most important part of your life, right? To actually, if I can just start you thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do it, and question what you are doing at this point in time, then I'm already ahead of the game here as your teacher. So let's look at that. Let's find out what it is and start spending a bit of time on thinking, hey, what would I love to do? How can I give something to people? How can I give something of value to people? And when you find out about that, then you're already at least 35% there. So thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you again in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.